Okay, so starting with the initial run through, Isaac is a workflow platform for AV systems, and that can be everything from your control systems like Medialon and Crestron or Q-SYS or things like that, but it could also be the audio system, the Q-SYS system, devices that may distribute audio and handle things there, and it could be your video system, Pixera, Hive, BrightSign, things like that. And so what we attempt to do is take all of these systems and make them into one unified ecosystem that people can easily interface with. And so what we do is we create a user interface where all of these different devices are able to report back their variables, their health states, what their schedule is, pieces of media, things like that. And this allows those systems to be managed by the end user without the end user necessarily needing an in-depth knowledge of how all these products work. And there's the idea being that the end user of Isaac is not the engineer, it's the person who has to operate the facility every day. And so what we try to do, and what I think we succeed at doing, is give 3 different properties of an AV system: access, management, and maintenance. And so your access is things like web UIs, things like remote desktop. And so we have a user interface where people sign into Isaac. They then select the panel that they would like to go to, and it gives them the opportunity to connect to Q-SYS UCIs that are registered in the system, Medialon panels, Crestron control panels, all these different things, or a remote desktop into a system actually running a software. So with Q-SYS, this could be a VM running Q-SYS Designer. This could be an actual dedicated box running something like Pixera. It could be a piece of hardware that's set up just for remote access. And so all of these things become surfaced in the Isaac user interface in a web browser. And then from there, we also have the ability to do content management where you can upload files and have them scheduled for playback on different devices, including scheduling the recall of presets and things like Crestron or Pharos, the execution of tasks and things like Medialon and Q-SYS, and effectively any of your own programming through things like Node-RED. And so I have a web demo I can actually give y'all, but that's kind of the crash course.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So, yeah, also could it be like files like drawings for the room and Crestron programs and stuff? Would it make sense to put that in here just as to keep everything for the room in one place?
So a little bit. The way the media management file system works is it's a web UI. So you would upload, let's say you have media that plays in the lobby, unless there's a schedule to be shown or something, then you can load that media into Isaac and then schedule it for playback in the lobby space. But we do have a section of the interface dedicated for documentation, and something we encourage project engineers and developers to do is to upload the documentation for the facility to that folder. So those can be your Crestron configurations, your Q-SYS designs, your building floor plans, any handwritten notes that are uploaded, so that when you go to maintain a system, you can just go to that one location and just, oh, where was that speaker? Oh, open this, floor 3, cool, and go from there.
We see that all the documentation for the room is kind of fitting in the same place as where you have all the controls and all the monitoring.
Exactly. So right. So this is the main Isaac user interface, and I was talking about panels. So panels are your main form of access to these different things, and that's going to be the access term that I used. So these could be things like a Node-RED dashboard that's actually embedded in the Isaac interface.
Node-RED?
This is the dashboard is Node-RED.
Okay,
the Isaac interface is its own software.
Okay, yeah.
And so on that note, every Isaac instance, whether it's the little box that we sell or the big server system that we sell, all include copies of Node-RED baked in. So you don't have to set up another service for Node-RED if that's something you want to use. It's already included. But this could also be a Q-SYS UCI or a Medialon panel, a Crestron panel, anything that can be surfaced as a web interface can be included. Then I don't have a live demo of the ability to do RDP because I'm on the trade show floor, but it supports RDP, VNC, Telnet, and SSH in the same interface. And so this could be something for a Pixera desktop where I need to allow some users to connect and be able to say, oh, make some adjustments to this Pixera project without going into the actual Pixera. From there, one of the other aspects I brought up was the ability to do management. And so the way we see management is this is your day-to-day tasks, your things that you need to manage, whether it's the media, and we're able to go in and use this library to upload pieces of media, investigate their properties, and preview them. And so if we need to rename something to make it more nameable or more findable, this won't affect the behavior of the system. It just affects how it's presented to the users. So you can keep technical names if you need them, you can keep descriptions and whatnot, and not lose that information. But then the user is able to go into the ISE schedule and manage the ISE schedule in a way that allows them to say, grab a playable, like the plants video I just had, and schedule that for playback at a specific time on a specific day. Anything that's set in the schedule can be configured to loop and repeat for a period or infinitely. So if you need to have a piece of media play back to back to back, you can set that up, or if it plays every day at the same time, you can do that. But this is also applicable to events, which can be your Crestron processes, it can be things in Medialon, the tasks I believe they call them. In Q-SYS it can be triggers and things like that. And so if every day at 9 a.m. you need to make sure all the amplifiers are on, you could schedule that in here as an event. And Q-SYS's plugins subscribe to ISE's calendar and then follow that themselves on their own processing and say, oh, at 9 a.m. I turn the amps on, at 9 a.m. amps are on. And so this lets you fix problems where an end user may not understand what the start of day, end of day tasks are, but they're able to go in and edit where those are placed on the calendar and knowing that these all need to happen before the building's open or in special exemptions. Everything I've detailed with the schedule management can be edited and added to a block. So in a block, if you have pieces of content or scheduled events, you can use a block to group them all together. And so this is where I see a lot of developers employ the start of day, end of day tasks, is they'll have an event to tell Crestron to turn on all the lights in the lobby, an event to tell Q-SYS to turn on amplifiers, an event to tell Pharos to open up relays for a video wall, an event to then an hour later tell Medialon to open doors to a convention hall, things like that will all be scheduled there. And then when the user goes to put that on the calendar, they're able to actually grab that entire block and place that in, and it will cover whatever period of time it occupies. Now, since you're asking because of a school campus, I'll detail a feature that we're currently reworking a little bit, but would still be usable, is we have a feature called zones, where you can tag these blocks and playlists and whatnot to different zones of a system. And so everything on the schedule becomes color-coded according to what it affects. And so then if someone's looking at this whole schedule and needs to say, what's going to turn on the lights in the admin building at 3, they have blue for admin building, or red for management, whatever it may be. And then all of this, of course, we have, lastly, our ability to monitor and maintain. And so maintaining can be as simple as looking at an asset dashboard and knowing that a device is connected to the network and is successfully pinging, knowing whether an internal web application or external web service is accessible from that network. And so we can actually monitor the response codes and the payload size. So, you know, some services are going to respond 404 if they're not working, but that may have an abstract payload to it. And we're able to say, oh, it's getting a 0-byte 404 or a multi-gigabyte 404, something's going wrong here. And then we also have the ability to monitor network switches. And so if you're a layman that's not familiar with AV networking and whatnot, you're still able to walk up to the system and go, oh, hey, I have a port here, it's red, what's going on? Oh, the team that implemented this, they labeled that Hive media player. I should go check to make sure that that's still working, that's still functioning. All of this uses standard SNMP. So your IT and security team isn't going to have a big fuss about handing over credentials. They're able to create communities and enterprise-grade switches and surface that information without risking the security of the rest of the network. ISE can still just monitor that.
Do you have to make drivers for SNMP to pull out the information?
All of that's already handled inside of ISE. Okay. So we follow standard SNMP protocols, and so all that needs to happen is you put in the community and the IP and configure some naming schemes that you would like to see, and then you're good to go. And then, of course, on top of that, we also have our variables elements. So all of the devices that we kind of talked about today and that you mentioned when you first came up are all ecosystem partners. And so they all communicate back to ISE via modules. Your modules would be, you may have a module for Medialon, a module for Q-SYS, a module for Pixera, etc. And so via the modules, these third-party integrations are able to surface not only following the schedule, but also publishing their own states. And so I have a fictional device that I made up for the show floor that I can show you where we're able to actually collect several different values coming back from this external server, and it's not really a real server, this is just something running on my machine. So if I open up the fake device control board, these values are updated whenever the server sends a new update. So you can see the server temperature is 17C, and so we're happy. That's a pretty decent temperature to be sitting at for a video server, so we're good to go. But if it were to, oh, wrong dashboard. If it were to climb all the way up to 55 or whatnot and send its value, then not only do we get the updated value stored in that variable dashboard, but we also get real-time updates. Those are all configurable by you as the end user, so you only get notifications for the health values that you actually care about. And so if I look at my variables again, this whole table is automatically populated by what's sent to the ISE system via the modules, but everything in here is health determined by the person implementing it. And so if you buy a projector and you are given a certain temperature range that it should be in, you can define what healthy and unhealthy is. You're not counting on all that to exist. You could nudge it down by 5 degrees so that you're really sure. You could say, I like to run my projectors into the ground, so I only want an alert when it's dead. It's entirely up to you. But those alerts all populate in this top right corner here so that users can sign in and monitor anything. And then they also can be sent outside of ISE using webhooks, Teams, Slack, email, or in ISE alone just for monitoring there. And that's all configurable by alert. So if you have things that you want to make sure go to the IT team via a webhook, and things that you might want to see in your own Slack channel just for access to you, that's all configurable on your own. Yep.
One of the challenges also, because currently we have many different topologies how we set up the AV equipment. So a lot of the rooms does have a switch that's offline, and then we have a Crestron with dual LAN ports.
Okay.
So one is on our network, and the other one is on the AV network switch.
Yeah.
Do you have like agents or something that you can put on the AV switch or a Crestron module or something to reach those equipment, or what does everything has to be on the network and be able to reach out to the ISE cloud or
So that's a good jumping point for the biggest point with ISE, is we don't believe in cloud. And so everything I've detailed is on-premise, and it's local. And so if I pull up my documentation here for all the different platform configurations, the little guy here, the foundation, this is the smallest form factor of ISE that we have. It's a DIN rail mountable PoE capable box. Everything I talked about, this thing can do. The only thing it can't do is virtualization. And so if you have systems that need to run the different virtual appliances and things like that, this isn't your guy. And it sounds like by what you're describing, the hosting platforms may be a little bit more what y'all are looking for.
Yeah, or since we aren't reaching those equipment without doing an NAT through Crestron, should we have one of these in each room, or should we have?
So that's where I'm going. The exciting part is that while this little guy only has 2 network ports, so you can put it on different networks, the Nemesis and the Prelude clusters are capable of actually connecting to your trunk at your IT level. So you can, whether it's physically separated copper and you just have a line for this network and a line for that network, or whether it's an entire network trunk, you can just extract the VLANs that you need to monitor. And so if these devices that you have in the room are split across different networks, you can get access to both networks from the IT closet where ISE lives. You don't need to put one of these guys in every office or in every room. You're able to put that in one central location and access it from there. That's the quick version.
It's a little different approach from the other guys, but that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, so we also believe in perpetual licensing. So the MSRP for this guy gets you the entire license. You're not buying a server with a subscription or anything like that. It starts with a 3-year warranty on its software, and it comes with a warranty backed by Dell for next day on site. And so when you buy one of the platforms with the hosting, the Prelude or the Nemesis, you get that license forever. You are set, you get updates for the duration of the product, and you also get the ability to know that as long as it's under the hardware warranty from Dell, if something goes wrong, you have next day on site to fix it and support it. You don't have to worry about flying one of us out somewhere to go and replace a hard drive. It's all proper server grade equipment. Yep.
Would it then be that would you have this one page to access all of them, or will it be like one IP for each of the sites that we want to go into, if you want to have multiple sites?
So if you were to do multi-site, what I would recommend is one of the Prelude lines, which is a lighter weight install out of this hosting platform per site, and then put all of them on a VPN. And then you can VPN into each workspace as you need to access different sites. But that's not necessarily the only topology that works. If all of your different sites do have a level of access to each other already, you could put one of these hosts in a central location and access anything accessible via the network from that one host. So it's really, your limitations are your existing network topology. Yeah.